Zeke, hit me with a Mr. Beast intro opening, please. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to do something crazy. We're going to look at what the new builders are offering and if it's worth... Okay, that's enough. I can only do that for so long. What's going on, everyone? So like I was saying, let's look at some new builders, because here's the thing. I want to go see a lot of new builds this past weekend, and it's just insane seeing the night and day difference of like 2 years ago, you were lucky enough to get on the list of like 60 people, and or hopefully you got lucky enough to get picked out in a lottery and give your first 3 children to the builder, while you hopefully got a lot. And now when you walk into a new build, it's like a desert. Like, no, not here, it literally is a desert in Phoenix, but it's like a ghost town. There's no one there, and they're just so grateful to have you, and they're throwing all kinds of money at you. So is it worth going through with a builder now, with the market adjusting and prices going lower? Well, I want to go see a bunch of builders, and I'm happy to say their name. I'm not going to give you the neighborhood because I don't know if it's like a neighborhood specific thing that I'm telling you about. But before I do that, I want to go over just some general thoughts of what I saw. Okay. The first thing I noticed is if you go to a new build right now, you're not going to have to wait like a year, because the thing is they have a lot of houses that are in the middle of being built, and you essentially just kind of hop in. And there's like almost every one that we saw this past weekend, there's some ready to, it's October right now. There's some that are November closings, December closings, January. And those builders have a lot of incentive to get those sold before the ones that are like way down the line. So it's interesting because, you know, like 6 months ago, if you wanted to go to a new builder, everything was being built. Like, you know, there's no way, very, very low chance you'd find something that's like in the middle of development. So you were almost assured that you're going to have to wait a very long time to get your house, like a year and a half sometimes. So it's interesting now, if you are considering, there's a lot of houses being built. Now, people could say, well, it's because people are canceling. That could be true. The interest rates did go up crazy, and unfortunately, they don't lock in your rate. So, you know, you kind of just have to roll the dice and hope the rate's higher. Or they can just say, which I think the second point I'm going to give right now, is there's a lot of builders that are using the move-in ready model. So, I talked about this in a previous video where a lot of builders are doing the move-in ready homes, where they have like 1, 2, 3 different type of homes, and they just build them just back to back to back, like without buyers ready. And the buyers go in there and they essentially pick out the lot, and they basically, there's already houses being developed because there's only 3 things they build, and they're really nice. They're higher quality, quote unquote, granite countertops, yada yada. So they're doing that, essentially removing the choice from the buyers and just essentially giving the buyers a first dibs at the house that's already being built. And almost all the houses I saw are using this model, except with the exception of one, which we'll discuss right now. So like I was saying before, it could be just because a lot of builders are using this model. But one thing I am noticing, and my second point, is that there's a lot of builders using this model. Now, of course, the third thing, that's probably the biggest thing that's happening with builders right now, is the incentives. There is so much incentives. It's like insane. Like, I walked in and they offered me automatically a free foot massage and manicure, pedicure, all kinds of things. And it's very interesting because, like I told you, literally a year ago, it was just insane. Like, you were lucky to even get a house, and now they're giving you so much money to buy. It's insane. How much money we're talking? Well, let me give you a list of just like the top 3. Okay. The lowest one I saw was KB Homes, which is still one of the builders that are still, they're using the traditional method. They're not doing the move-in ready. However, they just have some in development, and you can kind of take over and like choose different specs, or I don't recall if you just have to stick with the specs that were picked already. Anywho, they were one of the few builders that are still doing it, and what they were offering us, or buyers in general, is 3% back in closing costs, which tends to be the average thing that I'm seeing. So it was like a price of $450, $440. They were offering you 3% back and a flat amount for like, it was like $12,000, as long as you gave more than 10% down. This is very, very crucial. So once again, 3% on like a $450,000 house with $12,000 back. Now, these numbers can vary. I could also not be remembering it correctly. Of course, if you guys go and look at some new builds and maybe the same ones I'm talking about are different ones, leave in the comments below what deals you saw and if they're worth it or if what you did. And no, that's not just a cheap way for me to force engagement on my channel with comments. Come on now. Anywho, the curly Kier has spoken. By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I trimmed my sides up. I look like a Chad now. Zeke, can you give me one of those Chad, give me a Chad look. You know what I'm talking about? Poor Zeke's gonna hate my guts, just me telling him to do all these things. Anyway, hey man, get the Chad filter off me. The 10% thing is definitely a clutch because, I mean, for a lot of people that are first-time home buyers, they don't have 10%. And the good thing is with the 3%, it covers the majority of your closing costs. I would say that KB Homes had surprisingly higher closing costs. So suspect, like, I'm not saying KB Homes in general, but builders, do they raise their closing costs so they can eat up some of that money that they're basically because they're the ones charging the closing costs. A lot of times they use their title company, their lender fees, et cetera, et cetera. So anywho. But the $12,000 was, I mean, maybe that would have been impressive a while ago, but it definitely was one of the lower ones. So essentially, this fits our first model of the new builds that we're seeing, which are 3% and also a flat fee of some sorts. Usually that flat fee being about 1%-ish, 2%-ish, you might say. So that wasn't definitely the best deal I saw. The second best deal I saw, which I think it was with Lennar Homes, I believe that's the case. And actually, this is the one my client ended up going up with because they had a very high quality build and they were still busy. And the fact that they were busy, they were the only like new builds that we saw that actually had a line outside, or not a line, but a lot of people seeing it. That made us feel more comfortable with the demand of the neighborhood, because ultimately we were buying a new build. Not only are you buying the house itself, but you're buying the area. You're buying the potential future growth of that neighborhood. That's why I don't really like buying new builds in developed areas already, because I mean, you're just buying an overpriced home at that point, because that area is already known for being awesome, and that you're just buying one of the nicer houses in an awesome area. You really, if you're building new, it's like, once again, this is my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, but not too much salt, because remember, we're low sodium gang here, high blood pressure gang here. You're taking that rolling the dice of like, okay, there's not many stores being built, there's not too many neighborhoods being built right now, but if I buy this home and the area kind of grows and builds, holy crap, there's a potential to, investment. Now, I know I keep saying, right now, more important than ever, you're not buying an investment, you're buying a shelter. But the new builds, it kind of has that in it, right? You're overpaying for a house, basically, because it's a lot cheaper to just build it yourself or buy a resale. So if you're going to go with some risk associated with it. Now, that's just my opinion, but anywho. The Lennar Harm, my client ended up going with, probably because it's still in a developing area, and it's an area where there's a lot of developments happening, a lot of new stuff happening, stores being built, etc. And they offered the second best deal, which I believe, if I recall, was 3% plus a guaranteed rate buy down to 4.5. Now, this was absolutely crucial, because we were getting under contract at a time where rates were going from 5 to 6 to even 7% for a few days it floated at. So a buy down for 4.5 is really, really crucial, because that could end up costing the builder $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. As long as you sign by a certain day and time, they guaranteed it. And they said it could literally change by the hour. Like tomorrow, it can change the guarantee rate of 4.75. And to my client, who with the interest rate being the most important aspect, that was just a no-brainer. We had to lock it in now, especially with lock rates at 6.5, 7. It was just a no-brainer. They didn't want just an undisclosed amount of money, or sorry, not undisclosed, a disclosed amount of money, $12,000, $15,000, that they could do different things with. Now, yes, with the other house, they were going to give us $12,000 that we could technically use to buy down the rate. However, to buy down the rate of 4.5 would cost a tremendous amount of more money. And once again, with the builder floating that and guaranteeing that, regardless of the rate going up and down, they're still guaranteeing that rate of 4.5. So it was in my client's best interest to get that house. So even though this was the one that they went with, I liked the first one, which I saw two different builders that did this model. Now, granted, it wasn't my favorite builder. The quality wasn't as luxurious, and I won't say their name. I'll say it. It was sorry, beep the F it. There's some kids watching. Centrex, something. Man, I'm so bad with names. They offered 3% for concessions, plus if you put 10% down or more, an additional 3%. So total 6% for a $430,000 house. Let's go over just a quick summary before we move on. Zeke, if you could put it on the screen. I want you to slide me over so that way Okay, am I slid over now? Great. On the side of me, whatever you are. The first one for $450,000 house, that was a 3%. So write that amount up there plus 12,000. So add that amount there. The second one was that 3% plus X, whatever it was going to cost them to buy down the rate. It could potentially be a lot more than the first one, or it could potentially be less. And of course, the first one was 3% plus 3%, so 6% of 450. Here is Zeke is showing us how much in what the difference is of what they're giving to us for a $450,000 house. So let's get back to normal, Zeke. 450K. Now, keep in mind, once again, it was for 10%. So you have to have 10%. So for some people, that might be a deal killer, but I think it makes a ton of sense. But in general, that was about $27,000 that the builder was giving back that they could do for several things. They could essentially buy their closing costs and then buy the rate down with that $20K left over. They could buy it, get the price lower, $20K off the price, or all kinds of other things. Now, to me, this gives the buyer the ability to be creative with their money. Now, personally, my belief, once again, my opinion here, I think anytime you buy a house, the buyer should pay their closing costs and the buyer should have their down payment. Yes, a lot of times, especially when the market was recovering in the 2010s, I'm a big, giant, fat hypocrite because I helped a lot of people with down payment assistance and I helped a lot of people with the seller paying concessions, okay? I'm a hypocrite in that regards. I totally get it. However, now with the market kind of correcting itself, we're going to get to the point where houses are going to be somewhat affordable again, but we have to be in a market where if you're buying a house, you're buying it with a solid footing. And that means having your own down payment and closing costs is crucial. Closing costs technically are fees being originated by the buyer. So I follow the same train of thought with new builds. If you're buying your new build, if you're paying your own closing costs and your down payment, then those $27,000 you're getting is just for creative financing, for buying down your rate. It could be potentially for buying down the price of the house, all kinds of interesting things. Now, that's just my opinion. Of course, most people will use some of this money to pay their closing costs. Great. But I feel it's like you're getting the builder's money to pay the builder because you're going to use the builder's lender to get the 3%. You're going to be at the builder's title company and all that stuff. They're essentially giving themselves a discount. They make you feel like they're giving you money, but they're not really. They're just losing a bit on one end and making the money on the other end, right? So to me, if you're doing this route with a new build, definitely having your closing costs and down payment is an option. Now, for those people who are like they feel good about like getting other people's money and using it. And I'm not going to say if this is smart or not smart. A lot of times, as long as your budget makes sense, it could make sense technically, but most of the time I would argue that it doesn't. But you could technically get a down payment assistance program. And you won't do the 10% down like the program, but you can maybe do a 3% cash back, and you can get the builder to pay your closing costs and plus a down payment assistance. You could essentially move in for free. The interest rate will be insane. Your monthly payment will be really high, and you're probably not. Hopefully, it won't make sense for your budget if your monthly payment going that high. However, there could be a situation where you could move in for free potentially, but I say this with a giant fat asterisk because you just don't know. So. I cannot believe it. New builders are giving money away left and right. Who knows how long this will last for, but they're kind of, I want to say, desperate. So if you are considering buying, because yes, I know there are people out there that they're so stupid to buy a house right now. But hey, there's people out there that they got to get the ball rolling. You don't know their life. And, new builds is something you might consider. However, resales right now, I will say, it is insane. You can do some very interesting financing with resales too. So I'm actually going to talk about it in my next video, what some interesting ways to do with the resales now in this market. So stay tuned. Make sure to hit like and subscribe to like this video if you're looking for an agent referral. If you're looking for an agent referral. If you're looking for an agent referral. Sorry about that. If you're looking for an agent referral, links in the description. Go ahead and check out homeandmoney.com. And of course, home buying resources galore. Go check it out on the website. Links in the description. Thank you guys so much. I was trying to find a cheap way to tell you guys to leave a comment, but I'm not feeling it today. You guys are smart people. You're intelligent. If you want to support me, you know what you got to do. Support me.